Are business plans of any use? Now, at one time that was considered a heretical question, something that you absolutely needed if you're to run a successful business. However, in more recent times there's been people that have pointed to very successful businesses that have been successful. So let's have a look then with the help of Professor Andrew Burke. Now, Andrew, you've got a lot of experience in this area, you've done some research into business planning and you've seen a lot of business plans in your time. So let's ask this first question, are they any use?
Well, it's a very good question, Steve, because as you rightly point out, a lot of people observe high-performing ventures that don't have a business plan. And in the joint research that we've done with Stuart Fraser and Francis Green of Warwick Business School, we found that indeed a lot of high-performing ventures don't write business plans. But what we do find is that if ventures do write a business plan, whether high-performing or low potential, that their growth potential is increased by around about 30%. So it's quite a big effect.
So is it something to do with the qualitative nature of a business plan?
Yes. Well, this is one thing we can see from almost 20 years of looking at practice, is that it's not whether you have a business plan; it's very much what type of business plan you have. And there's a false debate out there, and the false debate is that there are two approaches. A very rigid sort of plan where people can predict the future with great accuracy, derive a plan, and guess what? The venture actually achieves this plan, versus another approach, which is to just go out there and start to trade, see where it takes you, and adapt the business as you go along. In fact, the best business plans take both approaches together. What they typically do is they go out and they try and sell. They take that information, that becomes part of the research underlying the market prediction, and ultimately the plan is not so much about trying to predict the future with accuracy. It's a plan about how to be adaptable, how to sustain the business, and how to develop it towards exploiting the target market opportunity that the firm has identified.
So give me some practical areas then that you'd say, if you can find a good business plan, it needs to contain these things.
I think if there's one aspect of a business plan that, whether it's an investor or somebody who's interested in earning some sweat equity in the company, will look at, it is the link between the qualitative story in the business plan, the text, all the wording in terms of what that's describing, and the financials. And what you typically find in a weak business plan is that these are two different worlds. In other words, the assumptions underlying the financials don't link up with the actual qualitative description. And unfortunately, when you see that reads an indication that whoever's putting that business plan together really doesn't fully understand the financial ramifications. What it also typically indicates is that the link are really the assumptions underlying the revenue projections and underlying the costs. And if you ask yourself, well, who's going to be a bit vague on understanding the revenues and the costs? And the answer is somebody who's not really out there engaging in a practical, real-world sense in those. Because in terms of the revenue, what ideally you want is the individual to have talked to customers, to try and sell some of the target market, and therefore be confident of the volume of sales that they're likely to get, certainly in the near term. And as the venture grows, to have knowledge of some companies that are similar to this one, so that you know that similar firms have achieved these, likewise with prices. And of course, back with the costs, is they really should know their business. And if they know their business, then they will be able to justify the assumptions on the costs.
So if we were to look at any other characteristics of what makes the difference that actually achieves this 30% difference, what would it be?
I think the key thing is, when you look at successful ventures, is that they're extremely agile. They're able to let their strategy evolve. They're able to, often they go into a market to sell one thing and then suddenly discover that there's a new market demand for it in a different market segment, and they're able to change direction. And what this implies is that good planning builds agility. And that means that you don't throw all your finances at the first iteration of your business plan. You hold some back for the unexpected. You stage your business, you phase your business, you de-risk it. And a really good example of the importance of doing this is that if you look at most business plans, they have at least 5 years of financial projections. And yet we know that in the real world is that most businesses have failed before they reach their fifth year. So navigating to that fifth year is incredibly important. And if you have a business plan that just projects one scenario, it undermines, I think, the confidence of somebody else looking at the business plan in terms of financing it, because it demonstrates a naivety, because in many respects that's not how businesses evolve.
So in summary then, Andrew, if we were to look at should we go for a business plan or not, what would your answer be? I'm
tempted to say that the answer to that is yes. But I think the key message here is that it's not yes or no. The key message here is in terms of what type of business plan you have. So in some ventures, yes, you may want to write up a fully fledged business plan from executive summary right through to financial projections. In others, you actually might want to have the business plan emerge. So the first thing you might want to do is simply to go out there and try and sell the product or service. If you find that there's a negative reaction, you might decide to do something else, and you might never complete that business plan. But I think the essence here is how you approach your planning.
So it's not what you do, but it's how you do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.